I can even hear myself.
Is my volume all right? Am I echoing? I could adjust things.
Yeah, you're definitely echoing. Oh wait, nope. Hold on. You're good now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Saykoya versus Sedgehun. These are two like mainstays in the community. Saykoya, the current world champion, against Sedgehun, who is, I guess, like the most beloved member of the community, you could say. Well known for their role-playing shenanigans, basically always being in character as Sedge.
Well, Barrett, if you
First
wouldn't mind
one.
sending me the code when you get a chance.
Oh yes, that is a very important thing that I should do. There you go. And we're not seeing anything too out of the ordinary here. We're just seeing a bunch of swords get bought. Turn 1, you go for the capture with your commander on that barracks. And they're just going to play at the opening phase right now.
I think this map is Harmonious Hideout. Is that the name?
Yes, that is in fact the name. And actually, I think it's like one of my favorite maps from when we were doing playtesting for this game. Definitely had a lot of fun on this. It can be a bit base racy at times, so we're going to see a lot of pressure on the strongholds. This is definitely a map that can end very, very quickly if people don't respect their opponent's offense.
I actually played on this map against Saykoya. It was one of the first maps we played on, and it's really fun. But the stronghold is a lot safer than it looks, because your barracks are very, very close to your stronghold. And you have a port there too. So what you could do is you could build like a warship, you could build like a harpy or a dragon, and you could balloon over units very quickly. So as long as, like you said, you respect your opponent's push, it's pretty defendable, and you can stop the base race from happening.
ZombieGrub, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to just ask away. You're kind of our... I'm aware that there's like a lot of new people coming in who might not be as familiar for Wargroove, so if you think of anything you want to, or any input you can give, then ask away.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, tons of questions, really. It's the first time I'm seeing such an elaborate map. I mean, I played one show match on Wargroove 1, and it felt like it was a lot more in line with my expectations for how far I'd played. But this one is, I mean, this one's elaborate. This one has tons of forts, and obviously the sea battles that can happen. So the strongholds are like, okay, the treehouse and like the really fancy looking thing. Okay. All right, I've got like at least the lay of the land now. So it's split half and half, up and down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And typically this map does something very well that is like kind of a good design practice for maps where you want a kind of diagonal front to form. Typically when you have like a horizontal or a vertical front forming like a map split like that way, then there's way less opportunities for aggression. So this map does like a nice diagonal front very well. It also features some new buildings. So in the center, next to where the barges are right now, you've got these lumber mills. And there's a bunch of chopped trees next to them. And lumber mills, when you capture them, they will randomly spawn trees on one tile, and it's the chopped tree tiles. So
Okay, cool.
there's a little bit of RNG there. Like they took a lot of RNG out of the game outside of that, but like this is like a kind of form of like almost controlled RNG where like map makers can kind of have a little bit more control, and you can chop the trees down for money, and storing trees for longer gives you more money overall. So
Interesting.
there's a bit of a dynamic of you want to wait and chop down more, or you want to chop down certain trees because sometimes you'll want to leave them up for defense. And there's a lot of cool options like that. And then there's also these fortified villages, which are kind of like the bigger forts on like the bottom left and the top right. They haven't been captured yet, but those give double gold, and they also have twice the defense of regular villages.
Actually, they don't. I was confused about that too, but when I played against Saykoya, we learned that they have minus 10 damage instead of double defense.
Oh, interesting. But I guess either way, they are more durable than a regular village, is the best way to put it.
Okay. And typical objectives, right? Either kill the commander or capture the stronghold.
Yes. there was, or I mean, also timer plays into this as well. They're on a 60-minute chess timer,
See, okay.
which comes from Wargroove 1. I actually don't know what that's going to play out like in Wargroove 2. The game is significantly more aggressive. You get rewarded far more for being aggressive with your army because you build groove off of everything now as opposed to just the commander.
Mhm.
So your army being more active is definitely very rewarding. And there's also the lack of RNG on damage means you consistently know how much damage you're going to take if you move forward, and you also know how much damage you're going to deal when you move forward. So there was a lot of times, if anybody's seen my stream before, I get very salty about this, where we've seen things like someone had like a 90% chance to just win the game immediately, and then they lost, or I think the most brutal one I ever saw was like someone had a 4% chance to win the game, but they were way behind. And they managed to pull one out because they just happened to get high rolls on the enemy commander like consistently. And yeah, it's a bit brutal. But now, when you move your commander forward, you know exactly how much damage they're going to take. So there's no... I mean, I've seen games end on like turn 3 or 4 before, just because people got very lucky. Or unlucky, I guess would be another way of putting that.
There was this one game against Sedgehun where I got a 1 in 1,000 lethal against Sedgehun.
Wow. And you know, those moments, like, they have their own kind of hype, but I think as a community we've sort of mostly moved away from wanting that, and now we have nice RNG like the lumber mills, and I think some grooves have some level of RNG to them as well. But anyway, looking into this game, we're not seeing anything too out of the ordinary, just kind of people building a lot of swords early on. We've got knights on both sides, and knights are very much like the typical, like, they are the one unit that can consistently knock a village down at full health, and they're also just very durable and strong. Oh wow, early groove here from Lytra.
This is
Interesting.
brilliant by
Wow.
Saykoya. They're gonna get the fortified village before their opponent. They're gonna steal Sedgehun's fortified village.
That's so cool. That's a really cool use of the groove.
That's super smart. And yeah, it's not like, you know, Wolfar Groove where you would knock something forward like that to do, yeah, I guess like some play the next turn. It's just like a little nice boost right there. That's so cool. I hadn't thought of that. And now Saykoya has a huge econ advantage because, yeah, taking both fortified villages up 1700 to 1200s. Oh, if I'm Sedgehun, I don't know how I feel about that. But Sedgehun's playing Sedge, and Sedge is the late game king. So, sure, Saykoya has a really nice advantage now, but if Sedge can just stay alive, then he becomes incredibly powerful.
What makes him so powerful in the late game?
His groove doesn't go away if he uses it. So he basically can run around. So it deals 35% damage to anything it hits, and if it kills that thing, he just gets to go again immediately.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay, yeah.
you can damage an enemy army, finish it off with Sedge Groove, and then run Sedge to safety, and then he gets the groove again for the next turn. So it is extremely powerful. But the disadvantage is it takes forever to charge, and if you die or get far enough behind before you get an opportunity to use it, then yeah, it basically puts like a ticking clock on your opponent. And oh, I just got a server error. That's not good.
And Wargroove?
Yes.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, I'm in the game again. Okay, it was just like
Okay.
a disconnect. Yeah. Okay, we're all good. I'm slightly concerned about some early days bugs, but we're fine. That happens in Wargroove 1 as well. Like, I'll just disconnect occasionally, but we're all good. Nobody panic.
I really like what Sedgehun did here. If you look at the bottom left of the map, Sedge is immediately prepared to retake the fortified village. There's a knight with a crit on the bottom that's going to do so much damage that the fortification won't even matter, and Sedge has 2 swords ready to cap it back. I think Sedgehun is going to get that village back next turn, so Saykoya will only get plus 200 gold from holding it, and deny Sedge maybe 200 gold. A 400 gold lead, which is pretty big, but Sedge also took a sword for it, right? Saykoya lost a sword, they lost Groove. So I think it was about an even trade, and Sedgehun handled it really well.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, is Saykoya going to use this 1800 gold that he's now acquired to like get an even bigger leads? And just goes for a Harpy, so no big buy this turn. Like, sometimes you'll just see people just like build a dragon immediately and then kind of go to turn on their opponent, but yeah, just wants to get a dragon up, do a bit of damage. And I really like this knight play in the center. Like, there isn't really anything here to threaten this knight, so yeah, it just takes down their opponent's slumber mill. And oh yeah, for the benefit of the stream, I'm leaving combat animations on because they're much quicker in Wargroove 2. I think they cut about a second on average of time of the animation for combat, so we can now leave them on and people on the stream can enjoy them. And of course the cat vory, they are riding giant cats that meow.
I really like that.
I love the Fari. They're like such a cool design.
They're my favorite now. Like, I was on Team Felheim for a while, but I think I'm on Team Fari now. If you take a look at the bottom right of the map, it looks like Sedgehun built an early flamingo to capture that island village. Saykoya never did this, so they're not going to get that island for a long time.
Yeah, and I guess they just want to keep putting on pressure as opposed to going for like that economy, because they did actually have that extra gold. They could have bought, you know, their own air trooper, sent that back, gone for the capture, but no, they just decided to go for more like of a militaristic approach and just want to fight their opponent head on.
I think that's a really good strategy against Sedge, the commander, but I don't know if it's a good strategy for this map. I had a lot of trouble putting early pressure on someone because of how easy it is to reinforce your defense on the map. Sedgehun might actually be okay to hold to the endgame here.
Oh, and wow, just builds a dragon immediately.
Saykoya does have a harpoon ship on the top of the map. That kind of sailboaty ship with a big spear pointing out of it will be able to take out the dragon if Sedgehun is careless. But a single harpoon ship cannot deter a dragon by itself, because the dragon can actually just run right into it and set it on fire.
Yeah, and it doesn't one-shot it, but there isn't any crit tiles available. Wow, it's 90 to a harpoon ship? Okay. I mean, if the harpoon ship's in regular sea, then it should be okay, but if it's on a beach tile, it's basically dead at that point. And now we see Sedge moving to the center, and this is a very important thing that I guess some people, like newer players, can get kind of trapped on, is that some people will go and send their commanders to the side where they can do like a lot of damage. They can do like village captures, knock down villages, but then they're just out of the fight, and you really need them to be near the center where the action is, because like as soon as they get groove, that really impacts the game. So I really like Sedgehun just moving the commander up to the center here. Okay, we see the what are they called? Aeronauts, I think is the technical name for them.
Yeah, aeronauts.
Yeah, just they're gonna chip away at this little fire ship. Riverboat. Oh, I'm gonna say so many names of like the different things they had during playtesting. They went through several, so if I say fire ship or caravel or any of the other ones, then I mean riverboat.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the one that I was talking to some people about this the other day. The one downside of being the playtester is I have to now remember which thing is actually in the game right now and which thing was in the past. So there are definitely like 3 or 4 different versions of grooves I've seen for commanders, and
Uh-huh.
I have to remember which one's the one that actually exists. Okay, we see Lytra just walking forwards, does a lot of damage to those knights. Like, knights are typically like pretty good against commanders, especially like if you can get a crit on them at the start, but yeah, commanders are still extremely beefy and will deal a lot of damage on first hit. And I mean, Sedgehun just needs something bigger to protect this left-hand side. But they also need some anti-air as well, because that aeronaut's going to do a lot of damage if it's left unchecked.
I will say though, in terms of economy, Sedgehun does have more at the moment. You'd expect them to have less because of how aggressive Saykoya is being, but they actually have more money per turn during Saykoya's turn. I think Sedge is doing pretty well here.
Yeah, they haven't really left any options open for an early capture either. I think it's these 2 northwestern villages. Like, just because Saykoya hasn't caught those yet, it's really gonna slow him down. Whereas over on the right hand side, Sedgehun's been careful and made sure to like capture everything.
Looks like Saykoya did build a flamingo. I keep calling the air troopers flamingos. I don't know if I can stop. They just they look like flamingos to me.
I think one of them is actually called a flamingo.
Maybe. I've seen only Air Trooper.
Two Mingo is apparently the name of the one on Sedgehun's side. What's this one
there's
called?
a thief?
Fairfowl is apparently the name of the fiery one. Oh, so thieves. So I guess if you hadn't played much of Double Trouble, you wouldn't be as familiar with these. So these can immediately capture buildings, and they'll steal 300 gold from their opponent. And when that happens, they get half movement, and they can only... So they steal 300 gold, but they don't get it yet. And you have to run back to your hideout, and then deposit the gold there to get it back.
Oh, okay.
And your opponent has the opportunity, we'll say, to kill the thief and get the 300 gold back. There are also some hilarious plays that can happen where if you kill the thief, your own thief yourself, using Groove, I think is the only way to do it, you immediately get the 300 gold. And I mean, Sneaky, I think you went for a very stylish play once where... Oh, I guess the other thing as well, if you steal from the stronghold, it doesn't kill the stronghold, it doesn't decap it, but you get 1,000 gold. Or you steal 1,000 gold. And then you get the 1,000 gold if you can get that back to a hideout. But Sneaky, I think it was you who... Was Wolfar, I believe it was? Stole from a stronghold? Yes. If you want to talk a bit about that story while we watch Sedgehun march forwards here.
So, I think I was the only, or one of the only people to pull this off in like a world tournament kind of game. But we were playing on this very fun map. And it had a lot of thieves and a lot of crazy units you could build. And I realized that I could possibly, with how my opponent was playing, run the thief up to the stronghold, then the next turn run it back a little bit and use my commander to gulf it all the way back to my hideout. Normally that's something you do to an enemy unit to fling it off the map, but I just fling them to safety instead. It was kind of fun.
I think in that one though, it was your opponent hit your thief with a sword, which doesn't kill it unless it's on roads, but it was on plains tile, so it just took a lot of damage. And then I think you golfed it, which killed the thief, but you get the gold because you're the one who kills the thief. It's just one of those weird interactions in the game.
You might be right. It was a while ago.
But I think your plan may have been to golf it to safety, but the opportunity
that
struck.
was my plan. Instead, I was just kind of like, hey, my dear, my dear friend, my soldier, would you mind robbing that place for me? Thank you. How dare you rob this place? I will confiscate this money. Excuse me, pardon me, and just walk out. That's how killing your own thief works, pretty much.
Yeah, and on that map, I think Across was the name of the map, and that map isn't very high econ, so if you steal 1,000 gold from your opponent, they like literally can't build anything the next turn. And
On this map, though, the economy is high enough you can still build, I think, even if someone pulls that off.
yeah, on this map, yeah, there's a much higher economy. We're looking at like what, about 1,700 per side, something along those lines. So, but that said, this actually might end fairly quickly if Saykoya doesn't respond to this. There's a big force here from Sedgehun that's positioned
In the
to.
middle?
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
almost in striking range of the stronghold.
Yeah.
And you know, we could be going into our next show match fairly quick. There's
Seems that way. What else can I do? I mean, do we see the money deplete in real time?
yeah, so
Yes.
you can see the money in the corner. And
Yeah, yeah.
on overview as well, if you press tab, you can see
Oh, neat.
the whole map. And I do wish there was like an option to kind of zoom out without going into overview. That would be kind of nice, but
A rifle build!
so rifles have changed quite substantially in Wargroove 2. They can only shoot the first unit in line of sight, and they can't hit anything that's in a forest, which was in Wargroove 1, but what that means is if you put a unit in a forest, all of the units behind that can't be shot by the rifle. So there's a lot more counterplay against them now. And I think that overall they had a bit of their damage lowered, and their crit condition changed from being the third shot to being anything that's in the direct line. So anything directly above, below, left, or right of them. And the little like tiles to the side of those, like they just do regular damage, but we're gonna see. Ooh, Saykoya's actually left that forest open, so I wonder if we're gonna see some aggressive positioning over here.
This is something Saykoya really likes to do. When you start to attack Saykoya, they position their units kind of in a circle around you, so that if you move forward into them, they can attack you from all sides. It sort of forces you to either back off or go to the left or right, but it's really hard to attack right into them when they do this.
And it is worth noting that while all this is going on, Saykoya is putting on a bit of counter pressure. Like his army isn't quite in the same level of striking range, but he's definitely pressuring the opponent's stronghold. He's definitely keeping stuff nearby and saying, you still have to spend on your defense here. Like he's still forcing buys to come out. Also, by decapping that fortified village, he's opening up the opportunity to get more of a gold lead. Oh, they're actually dead even on income right now.
It's an interesting decision for Sedgehun here. If they continue their attack into Saykoya's stronghold, they might be abandoning their own. Lytra's groove is not to be underestimated when it's right in your face.
Had a little bit of a request to turn the music up slightly, so
It's taken 9 turns to get the commander, what is his name? Tithe guy. To 84%.
yeah, he takes a long time, and that's just his tier 1 groove as well. Like he's got a whole second groove
Yeah.
behind this.
Okay.
His tier 2 version of his groove is absurd though. It's the same as his tier 1, but you can do it from range.
Oh, okay.
Sedge is
That does sound
like
pretty good.
the attack. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just said that seems pretty good.
Sedge is kind of like the tactics game equivalent of an assassin who gets resets when they use their ultimate ability. And he can reset on every single unit. That's what makes him so scary.
Yeah. I can see why that's locked behind a lot of time.
And yeah, playing against him is very much, there's like that constant pressure you're under to like be aggressive yourself. You need to like finish the game while also not feeding Sedge kills, which is, yeah, that's the real challenge. But like, yeah, you're very aware that you're on a clock when you're playing against Sedge. And we're looking at it right now, like we've almost got another groove out here for Saykoya. So Lytra is obviously like a much faster charge. And I
I
think
think everyone's fast compared to Sedge, but Lytra is probably in the mid or faster range.
she really wants her tier 2 groove though, because that's the one that like lets you Beyblade your entire opponent's army and spin them around, and you can kill so much with it as well. Especially with like things like certain units can't go on certain tiles anymore, like golems can't go on mountains, for example. So she can just instant kill a lot of stuff with her tier 2 groove. And I guess her tier 1 as well, but the tier 2, just because it rotates a much bigger area, it just leaves a huge amount of options open for doing so much damage. And even if you can't kill stuff that way, you can just rotate it around completely, so... and I've actually had a request to display absolute values instead of percentages. So I'm gonna do that in a second.
It doesn't seem really much a lot of action, like a lot of battles happening.
That's
Might
sort of
be
on
wrong.
purpose. Saykoya was trying to avoid battles, to avoid giving Sedgehun groove as much as possible. So they're fighting a lot less. But I think
Okay.
it might be backfiring because it's letting Sedge take over the center of the map, and they seem to be getting groove anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, is this more normal amongst 1v1s?
It's
Or is it just because
definitely
it's Sedge?
unusual.
Okay.
It varies a lot as well. A lot based on commanders too. Like if you play like Valder, for example, Valder is very aggressive, or can be. And he constantly builds groove, he constantly makes swords, so you can be aggressive with those. And his groove is very fast paced. And I guess some other units, like there's some other brawly unit, all the other brawly commanders I should say, like Mercy is quite brawly, Dark Mercy is quite brawly, Sigurd's very brawly. Whereas like Sedge, you want to just be very like passive and want to be making sure you aren't making any mistakes or anything like that. You want to just let your opponent, keep your opponent at bay until you can build groove. And yeah, he wants to play, I mean, you can play him very aggressively as well, but generally speaking, you want to play like kind of a bit defensive until you get groove, and then you just like, you flip a switch and then like suddenly you're on the offense. So it can really depend. I've seen games of Wargroove where nobody's lost a unit and only the stronghold died, and it's just a huge positioning game.
Okay.
And did we just see the frog pull the rifle?
Yeah.
Yep, that happened.
The rifle fired first, so are we going to see another build come out of this hideout? Are we going to see a second rifle get built?
Not sure about that, but I think the frog was making its way onto land anyway, and Saykoya chose to pull the rifle just to accelerate its movement by one tile.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now this covers like a lot more of like the front of the stronghold, so yeah, good positioning. But yeah, like I was saying, you can have games where like nobody loses anything and it's just a huge positioning game for like an hour and a half. And very, very minimal fights going on, like no units lost. Or you can have games which are just complete bloodbaths and people just constantly fighting from the start. And it really comes down to playstyle, it really comes down to like what commanders are being chosen, what units are being built.
I also just noticed that the timer stops. How's the timer?
So it only updates when a player takes a move.
Oh, okay. But it's real time?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't do that in quick play, however. In quick play, it will constantly tick down, but I think they use like a different way of handling it for quick play.
Like 24 minutes?
Let's see. So, yeah, Saykoya's been playing for almost 15 minutes, which is actually like pretty quick. Like, but they're taking their time. Neither of them really want to lose. This is the first time we've ever had like anything like this for Wargroove 2, so Nobody wants to walk forward at their commander into lethal or make an obvious blunder.
I mean, when I'm on the show match later, I fully expect that I'm going to make an obvious blunder, but...
Yeah, you'll be up after this, so...
One thing that they're doing differently, if you look on the right side of the map, Saykoya has 4 naval units pouring down the right. Sedgehun does not have any naval units on that side, or the left side either, they just have 1 boat. This is going to give Saykoya a big advantage if Sedgehun doesn't do something to stop it, because Saykoya can now take over the naval units, even possibly threaten Sedgehun's tower and barracks, which is something I did to Saykoya when we played on this map. It was fun.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for if you can get a harpoon ship all the way to the other side of the map, you just lock down that tower. Like, they just can't build any air units from that point. And I think it really comes down to Saykoya with that early econ advantage built this aeronaut quite quickly, and Sedgehun was just like, I'm just going to focus on land. And I mean, he's got the whole center, so it really just does. It just comes down to like how they're going to like try and meet their end goal for this game. And we see Lytra pull back. I guess doesn't want to be too far forwards. Wants to be a bit closer on the defense. We could also see really funny things like Lytra can just rotate one of the earlier, like a unit that's further back, and then just rotate it so it can be aggressive.
Why did he buy a Skyrider?
They one-shot dragons now.
Oh.
So.
Well, then that would make sense.
And I think they got a little bit cheaper too. So they're $750 now.
How would you know that it one-shots dragons?
Oh, it says in the codex, I believe.
Oh, in the codex. Okay.
Yeah. 55 damage to dragons, and it has a 2x multiplier as its crit, which it basically, like, a witch will always, or Skyrider will always get its crit unless your opponent also has a Skyrider. So.
That's interesting. I mean, I've just been going off of the tile, like the info. Effective versus aeronaut is all I see.
Okay. Yeah, the codex, yeah, if you take a quick look through there, like, it really does tell a lot. And I mean, Skyriders also have the advantage, like, Hex is incredibly useful. Just being able to do 10% damage to like an area is really good. There was a strong fear in Wargroove 1 that any map that had more than 1 tower and a big enough econ would eventually just run into both opponents just sit back and build Skyriders, and it becomes a huge Hex fight at the end.
Okay.
Because, yeah, if you can do 10% 10 times, you know, that kills a thing, so it's pretty good. But thankfully, there was a lot of chat about this, actually, during Wargroove 2's development of, you know, should Skyriders get any kind of nerf to that or anything like that. But what ended up happening is the game is far more aggressive now and far more consistent, that it's really difficult to just sit back and bank because your opponent is going to be much more confident about pushing forwards.
Is this a typically sized map?
This is a little bit on the bigger side, I would say.
Okay.
It is a mixed naval land map, so there's a lot of map design that's still being figured out. Ideally, like, when you have land and naval, they both have to be interesting enough themselves so that you have to give enough space to both of them to really make that worthwhile. So any map that has both is going to be bigger just by default, with some exceptions. But
okay, well, Sedge has a Wargroove, so is the flip gonna be switch gonna be flipped?
I think so. He can now be much more aggressive. Like, anytime a unit can deal 65%, Sedge is going to be able to just immediately kill that unit and then do whatever the hell he wants after. He's in a very good position from that point.
Okay.
However, it's not so clear-cut. Even though Saykoya failed to shut down Sedge's economy in the early game, they have a massive naval push on the right, and I don't see Sedge doing anything at all about it. They built a witch, they built a dog, they built a mage. They didn't build anything to fight those ships. If Sedge ignores it for too long, they're gonna start losing even with Sedgegroove.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure what the game plan here is from Sedge. Like, he's got center, he could go in any direction. And there's, what's that old quote from a general? Like, we're surrounded, now we can shoot in any direction. But yeah, I don't quite know what the plan is here. He has to do something. It's really going to come down to like the choice of next turn. Whereas Saykoya, you know,
No.
slowly taking the sides.
Oh, I wonder if it reaches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could go there. I don't. Oh wow, that is a brilliant that is either a perfect dragon position, or the worst dragon position ever.
Okay, why?
6, 7. Okay, it's safe. It's safe. I think it's 2 scores off. So I was thinking Lytra could maybe groove the witch, so that it could make it to the dragon, but it doesn't make it. It's safe.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have explained that before the exclamation, probably, but my emotion happened first. It's the weird thing about Lytra, and I think it's something Saykoya really likes, because they like the frog unit too. Wargroove 2 has a lot of ways to reposition units ever so subtly, but in ways that could change everything. Like, one tile could be the difference between destroying your opponent's dragon or doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I've seen Ragnar's a good example of that. They changed her quite a bit. So instead of doing like just this massive AoE damage, she lands and hits things around her, like directly next to her, and pushes them, which opens up a lot of opportunities for very smart plays. But it's like less about raw damage and more about like thinking, which is kind of a bizarre one for Ragnar because she's like, I guess in Wargroove 2 she's what, like the equivalent of like an 8-year-old? I can't quite remember. Sneaky, you're gonna have to help me with that one. Oh, the pull on the rifle? Oh, that's really good. Gonna get a shot here on these swords, do a bit of damage. I'm loving this frog rifle combination. I mean, it's very expensive for what it's doing, but it is doing it quite well.
It costs more than a dragon to build those 2 units, and they're kind of just tickling swords, but it's still really awesome.
I mean, every turn of chip is still a nice bit of damage going in.
Yeah. And Saykoya has Sedge's fortified village again. They put a pike there. That's going to be so hard to remove. I think that's what forced Sedge to rotate to the left side.
Okay, that Skyrider is very aggressively positioned now, and it can be, because there's nothing really to challenge it for it is. And, you know, while Saykoya has to worry about anything that dips below 35, getting eaten by ZombieGrub, now Sedge has to respect that there is essentially 10% less life on any of his units at the whim of his opponent.
I'm actually kind of surprised Saykoya backed off the 6th village. Saykoya definitely could have held it with what they had, but maybe they just didn't want to commit to the long-term fight, or the possibility of Sedge kind of separating their army and fighting half of it.
Why is the balloon here?
So balloons...
Sorry, I sneezed. Say again?
The balloon, why is there a balloon? So balloons have a lot of very good options. They're great for transporting, of course, but they're also very durable. So you see that a lot of the time you'll see them used in walls. So you'll just play very aggressively, you'll do a big push, and then you'll just throw a balloon in front of your army, and your opponent can't like do anything about it a lot of the time. If you knock out their anti-air in a certain way, you can also overwhelm them as well. Like if your opponent has 1 mage and you have like 2 or 3 balloons, you can just throw them in front and create a wall.
Okay.
And they're very affordable. They're only 450 gold, so you can see them used defensively and offensively, and you can do all sorts of fun stuff with them. Like you can see
I
them.
also got the error.
Oh, did you? Yeah, you should be able to just log back in.
Well, I kind of have to go anyway, so that might be perfect.
Ah, fair.
Regardless.
But
Oh, this is incredibly interesting. Way more elaborate than I was actually anticipating too, compared to my own experiences. Of course, I am pretty pleb.
it definitely has a lot of depth.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, no worries if you have to go. We are used to finals taking 3 days, finals like best of threes taking 7 hours. So people having to drop in and out of commentary is, I wouldn't say encouraged, but it's definitely like understandable. So if you need to go, thank you for joining. I appreciate you coming along and taking part in the race as well as hopping on for commentary.
Just asking questions, easy enough. But the show match was fun. I hope any of the newbies who are watching enjoy Wargroove and check it out for sure.
Awesome.
Enjoy the pumpkins.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, take care.
They said on stream they're going pumpkin picking with family.
Ah, fair enough then. Master wants to come on commentary? Yeah, I would love to have you on commentary for the next match then. That would make sense. More than happy. We can sort that.
That's right, I'm playing soon.
Yeah. Actually, while we're at this point, is your opponent around? Do you know that?
Yeah, I think they're on there. I can poke them. I'm probably gonna get my butt kicked, honestly.
Well, we'll see. You came second in the last Groove of War, so...
I did some practicing on the map, and...
Not feeling confident?
I'm not super confident, but I'm gonna make it fun regardless. We'll see. We'll see.
Something I just realized that isn't really shown on the income is those lumber mills don't count towards the income displayed. So Sedge actually has a really big economy just from holding the center position. And there's like one little sword over on the right hand side, like trying to hold out as long as it can.
It's so cute. It's distracting like 4 naval units all on its own.
It really is. I mean, it's gonna die fairly soon, but... Oh, that's actually interesting though. The only way to knock the sword out, aside from using a merfolk, would be to like essentially sacrifice one of the ships. Because it's gonna get absolutely smashed by any of those knights that really want to. So there's a lot of interesting dynamic over on the right hand side, and that is because of the new change they made, naval and land interacting on beaches and rivers.
Yeah. Yes, Saykoya will have a choice: either capture the village, kill the sword, or put a unit at risk. But you have to do something.
And while that's happening, yeah, there's no threat on this naval village on the south while that's all going on. So yeah, it's really gonna sacrifice itself bravely for the greater goods.
I really like Sedge's position here. It's very, very aggressive and telling these 5-6 units, hey, fight me right now. Fight me or I'm gonna pick 2 of you off and keep moving forward. I think Saykoya's balloon either came in just in time or too late. We might see Saykoya actually just try to hide units in the balloon, even though it can't move, to save them from Sedge.
Oh, that's actually something I hadn't thought about. Yeah, just being able to pick up units to prevent Sedge from grooving them.
It's the dropship, it's the evac ship. Oh no, the Florins are coming. Quick, get all the mice in the ship.
Yeah? They're really in like a stalemate right now, where I guess like Sedge can just keep pushing forwards. But
it's not exactly a stalemate in the sense that Sedge wants the game to continue, and so the current state of affairs is progressing the game
I guess,
for Sedge.
Yeah, stalemate isn't the right term. I think it's more like it's just going to be a very slow push from Sedge, and he is completely okay with that. And oh wow, actually just going to ignore that water village. Well, not ignore, but just knock it down once more. And that would have actually, I think, been a capture on that south village had that sword not stayed there to capture. And the sword lives.
The hero sword. When you get the item, the hero sword, it is that Florin sword.
We're gonna have to remember that for the next conquest. I wonder if you can... Oh, you can't rename. It would be funny, actually, if we could have Twitch integration on for, like, this kind of circumstance.
Right.
Just have, like, random units named after Twitch chatters.
And sure enough, Saykoya did it. Used the balloon to block, to evac. They got everyone out of there.
Oh yeah, it's just gonna hold it, and there's nothing that Sedge can do about that. It's a very smart play, and not something you wouldn't normally see people hold units in a balloon. But in this circumstance, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, we're gonna see the knight get frog pulled. I'm a bit curious about why, but
Whenever Saykoya moves the frog forward, I think they just like to get value on it. And they think, alright, what is something I can do with the frog that's useful as I'm bringing it into the fight?
I guess there's also like the style points of it as well.
That's true too. Yeah.
Alright, we see the rifle moving forward to a more aggressive position, so I guess Saykoya is doing his thing. I guess really wants this thief to stay alive. There is a wagon. It got the steal. There is a wagon next to it, so it can get back very quickly. Even without the wagon, actually. Let's see. 1, 2, 3 turns? Yeah, 3 turns to run back without the wagon. 2 turns with, so... Someone noting it could be helped by the frog as well. I don't think it can. I think it's not quite in the right position for the frog to give it a bit of a boost, but...
The impressive thing about Saykoya is they were able to deny a lot of combat. They were able to build a ton of naval units. They were able to keep even on economy and build so much tech. They have a thief. They have a frog. Their army should be worse and weaker than Sedgehun's, but Saykoya has been leading Sedge around the map all game.
And yeah, they're keeping up with economy. There's like a very good saying someone had. There's a player called Mori. I think people know him as... I'm not a player, he's a map maker in Wargroove 1, and people know him as Best Saki at NA. And he did a lot for the Advanced Wars by Web community, he did a lot for the early Wargroove 1 community. And I remember him once saying that an even game of Advanced Wars, and this also applies to Wargroove 2, is when you feel like you're winning at the end of your turn, and you feel like you're losing at the start. And when both players are like constantly feeling that, that is when you know a game is close. And I feel like that's how I feel about this game watching it just now. Every time I go in and I look and I'm seeing both players taking their turns, I feel like it could still go either way.
I definitely think you're right. I felt it swing. Like after Sedge's turn, I'm like, oh, Sedge is winning. After Saykoya's turn, oh, Saykoya's winning. But I think one thing has... I think each player has one advantage. Saykoya is just playing tactically a little bit better. They're being very clever, they're being very creative, they're being very, very, very efficient with their units. And I think this is just the world champion skill level that we're seeing. Like, I'm just noticing all these super small, subtle things that Saykoya is doing without as many units. And it's just blowing my mind. But Sedge might be going for more of a blunt force strategy, but it's all they need to do. They just need to stay alive, get tier 2 groove, and then Saykoya will have no choice but to fight. And it's a question of whether or not Sedge will get that awesome fight at the end.
Yeah, this is very, like, Sedge is very, like, there hasn't been too much action. There's been a little bit of, like, trading back and forth here and there, but when Sedge gets into a fight, the fight happens. Like, there's a big battle that normally takes place. Either that or he just kills his opponent's commander, which, you know, could also be the case here, but I think we're going to see, like, just a bloodbath happen the moment Sedge gets groove on tier 2.
Oh no! Sedge fell for Saykoya's trap. I don't know if they can fix this. I don't know if they realize this. Take a look at the right side of the map. This is like that crazy subtle stuff I was talking about that Saykoya does. You see how Saykoya's knight is one tile away from being able to crit Sedgehun's knight, which just recaptured that 5 village? But the frog is right there. All Saykoya has to do is move the sword, and the frog can pull the knight into crit range and obliterate Sedge's knight.
Oh, and if it does it from above as well, then it's, like, very safe from getting counterattacked. Actually, it is safe from getting counterattacked by the knight and the dragon, so... Yeah, there's a very strong frog play up for grabs here, and Sedge... Yeah, I guess maybe overextending a little bit too much on that right-hand side.
And this is the difference right here. Saykoya is so good at not overextending. Even pushing it just a little bit this game, they still kept all of their units safe. They still got all of the tech they wanted. They still had a naval push. It's impossible to do that. I haven't seen anyone else do that. Ever. Like, I don't even see players like Shu and Zeronix do stuff like this. They do other awesome things, but this is the best Saykoya that there is.
And I guess we're also seeing the advantage of, I mean, it's public knowledge that Saykoya was one of the playtesters for this game, so they definitely got a lot of opportunities to play with frogs.
That's true.
So we're getting to see, like, that level of gameplay knowledge that comes through, like, experience, where, you know, we're going to see, like, a lot more good frog use out of Saykoya because of that. And yeah, I think you're right. This is a really good example of that. You can definitely move that frog up. I mean, the one issue I see there is, like, the frog is open to being counterattacked, but I guess if you're killing a knight and then leaving a whole bunch of units in range to be defensive, then that's probably worth it.
Right, and you made a good point. I forgot for a sec that Saykoya was a beta tester, so they do have that extra bit of knowledge, giving them an advantage for sure. Like, more familiarity with the frogs, the meta. That is true. There's one other reason that this attack is good, the Night Trap is a little bit good though, and that's that Sedge is on the other side of the map. So there's, even if the frog is put in a vulnerable spot, Sedge can't really commit to attacking it. And Saykoya is sort of locked down the left flank, right? Sedge has a knight trained, for example, on the 9 health river village, if you look at the left. There's a knight trained on the 9 health village. There's another knight trained on the 100 village. But Saykoya's got a pike there, got a balloon there that can drop another pike, got another pike coming in. Saykoya's ready for that and can freeze that front unless Sedge plays some amazing Sedge, right? And then on the right, most of Sedge's army is too far back to defend that knight. That's why the frog trap is so good.
I'm actually going to turn this back to percentages on grooves. I'm just kind of curious. 159. I wish there was a hotkey that let you change between percentage and total value, actually. That'd be quite useful to have, but I'm going to put it back on percentages
really
for a while.
useful.
So,
Something I
Lytra's...
just learned the other day, if you hover over the commander, you can see a little bar that shows you how charged their tier 1 groove is, with an arrow separating it from its tier 2 groove, and that sort of can give you some quick percentage.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't noticed that, but that's a very subtle piece of UI that as soon as I see it now, yeah, like, I actually understand that. That is actually really cool. I hadn't noticed that.
I didn't either. Credit to Mastro for pointing that out to me.
Yeah, that's one of those things where, like, maybe it's a little bit too subtle, but now that I see it, I can, like, actually just eyeball where they're up to on groove. I think... I mean, something cool here that Lytra has access to is because they're in the center near this body of water, she does have the option of, like, if for whatever reason that barge could get killed and maybe the dog behind it, she could, like, start rotating stuff into the water. Like, there is, like, a really cool option there, but not really in a position to do that right now, so...
What I'm looking at is if she gets tier 2 groove, she can yoink the dragon.
Ooh, that is true. And she rotates her own units as well, so you could potentially move a few defensive units in, so she rotates them. But I guess it's better to leave your stuff out of range than in... Yoinking that dragon is pretty scary. I mean... Oh... Well, actually... I was thinking, you know, Witch would just run up and hit dragon, but there is a defensive aeronaut here. Or Skyrider, I should say. So, dragon is not under threat of being crit. Okay, we see Sedgehun finishing their turn. And Saykoya... So, I was looking at the clock a bit, and this is around about the time, like, players really have to start considering clock. Is Sedge has moved past the halfway mark onto, like, 28 minutes, I think, left on the clock. And Saykoya is on 36 now, so...
There's the night crit.
There's the night crit. Is that a one-shot on beach?
It's not, apparently. I thought it was.
Ooh.
1%! 1%!
Very close. I mean, I guess you just leave the knight alive at that point. Or you just have something, like a dog, finish it off, or... Okay, a dog comes in. They're just gonna run up and do the little winged beetle attack.
Yeah, and we've got Lytra protecting the frog, so, like you were saying before, let's make sure the frog isn't vulnerable.
Yeah, and ooh, rifle moves up to a very aggressive position.
That's brave. It is right in front of a dog.
Yeah, it is. Rifles are a little bit cheaper now, though, so... It's not quite as big a gold loss if you lose one, but alright, we're seeing a bunch of other units just kind of move into... defend that and the frog.
And you have to keep in mind that this fight is happening very far from Sedge. There's no way to get over there.
Yeah, that is true. And oh, I like this use of the Skyrider, just gonna position itself in a nice like defensive spot where nothing can touch it. It keeps Lytra from being able to be attacked. We're seeing the merfolk, or I guess the amphibian we should call it in this case. That's gonna move up onto land. Interesting. And while all this is going on, I love that there's just this like 12% health sword just like sitting here chilling. Being the hero of locking down that village.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. Witches can now fill a role that dragons used to. There was this thing you could do with dragons in Wargroove 1, where since they wouldn't die in one hit to a witch or a mage, you could use them as a temporary wall. But now that witches are cheaper and one-shot dragons can't do that anymore. But because in Wargroove 2, you have a lot of other stuff that can mess with mages, it's harder to get mages in range to counter witches, and witches don't one-shot other witches, so witches now fill the dragon role of being sort of that hovering air unit with a lot of movement.
And we see Golem come out. So Saykoya, I mean, it's the ideal unit for defending against Sedge, right? It has a lot of health, it's very tanky. It's very difficult to knock down a Golem to 35% or below. They are nerfed though, so one thing that has changed between Wargroove 1 and Wargroove 2 is this movement type. There's a new one. This is no longer a horseshoe, it's like a kind of heavy movement type. And knights and golems share this, so it's not going to be the biggest deal in this situation, but it means it can't go on these mountains, for example. It's going to struggle to reach these forest tiles that it would before.
So this is another big change between the games. In Wargroove 1, golems weren't completely great into Sedge, because Sedge could do this fun thing where Sedge could ram a dragon into the golem, back it up with maybe a witch hex, or just some other like light attack, like a sword suicide, and then groove the golem. Whereas you could not imitate that. If you tried to, your opponent's golem would be in crit range now. The problem is, in Wargroove 2, since dragons are a little squishier, the threat to the golem is a little bit less, and you can punish the dragon more easily if it goes in. So it kind of is a buff to golems because of the nerf to dragons in sort of that rocks, paper, scissors, shoey way. So I think, the dragon is actually going to end up being good into Sedge in Wargroove 2, where it was maybe less good in Wargroove 1.
Okay, I just want to give a quick shout out. Thank you for the raids. I really appreciate that. We are in the middle of the first of the 1v1 show matches for Wargroove 2. This is a kind of like launch event. It came out, was it 3 days ago, I think? And yeah, we're just doing some show matches between some of the like notable players. So at the moment we've got Saykoya versus Sedgehun. Saykoya, the current world champion, like, or I guess the final world champion of Wargroove 1, up against Sedgehun, who is a beloved member of the community, has been very active and very much loved, I would say, as a lot of people really appreciate Sedgehun. And they are going up against each other. And Sedgehun, is not a weak player by any means. Definitely one of the stronger players in the community. So I would definitely give Saykoya like a slight edge at the moment, especially due to the fact that they helped playtest Wargroove 2. That is definitely going to come into play here, but we're seeing Sedgehun holding their own. They actually have the economy leads. They've got 138% on Sedgegroove. The one thing I think they have to worry about, though, is time. We are playing this on chess timers. We're going to see dogs take out this barge. Yep, goodbye. Dogs, very strong. But yeah, they've got 24 minutes left on the clock, so they're going to need to, while they have a game plan of playing late game, they do need to kind of hurry up a little bit because they could very well just lose. And while they have the economy lead, actually they're a bit behind on units. This unit counter also includes buildings, so them being up ahead on economy actually means they have an even smaller army than their opponent. I do believe they haven't captured the hideout, which is kind of funny. It's always funny when people just don't capture a building.
Sedgehun is in a little bit of trouble. Not only is their clock running, and this is one of the things that Saykoya is known for. They play very well, very fast. So you need to play not just as well as Saykoya, but as fast as Saykoya. And that's really hard to do. Like, Saykoya does these incredible moves in 5 seconds that take most people 10 minutes to figure out.
I'm sitting here, I don't think there's lethal. I think it's close, but there isn't.
I mean,
There's night crit. Archer hit has to go on the wagon for the wagon. Oh no, does it have to go on the wagon?
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It depends what you're going for. Is the sword suicide guaranteed now?
I don't think there's a sword suicide on planes.
If there's no sword suicide on planes, then I'm looking at
Which
dragon
hex?
damage to commander's been nerfed. So 60, 70, 80 damage with planes reduction. I don't see a lethal here.
Yeah, I think it's close though. This is one of those cases where if there was randomness and you got all high rolls, I think it could happen, but
I don't think so. I think even with RNG, I don't think you could max roll here. If it was Wargroove 1 and the dragon did 10 more damage, no, even then I don't think. It's too safe, because you'd have to use all of your powerful units to clear the wagon, and then you don't have one of those units to hit Lytra with. I don't think it's here.
okay.
Yeah, there's no lethal.
I guess rather than lethal, it would just be big damage, but yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna see Sedge just be like, I'm just gonna punch through your army then. And goes, you know what, screw it, like I'm just gonna go for damage. We're gonna see a big hex come out here. And oh, I guess what we could see is Sedge follow up as in the barge and kind of come along with his army.
Yeah. The problem is, Lytra's gonna get a very nice groove. Sedge's air is gonna be wiped out for sure, even with the mage going down.
Yeah, that archer can't. Oh, archer can't reach anything now. Oh, I could hit the wagon, I guess.
Ooh, really nice pike drop.
Oh,
It's right in front of the rifle, but it's still nice.
yeah. Well, I guess you've got one of them in the forest, so at least that entire side is safe. And yeah, I guess Sedge is just like, I just want to put a lot of pressure on your commander.
Mm-hmm.
And Lytra has to respect this. There isn't that much left nearby. I'm wondering how aggressive the positioning of Sedge is going to be here. Like, are you going to put it left of that Skyrider?
That is... No, you would die.
Okay.
Just, yeah, no.
A big clear of those forests. Sedgehun just going to stay on a lot of money. Builds a golem behind this. Okay, so you're just going to push up on this right-hand side. And this makes sense. Because Sedge wants to force the fight, right? He wants Lytra to just sit and, like, brawl this out. And oh wow, that is actually a huge swing to the right-hand side.
One of the knights didn't move. I have questions about that. Although I do like pressuring the left side is entirely pikes and flamingos and harpies. The knight is not going to pressure them. You should just move it all the way. Keep like a mage there or something if you want to.
Yeah, just builds a knight, just high mobility unit. Sedgehun's like, I've got 18 minutes left on the clock. I need to figure out an end game.
I really like the golem build from Sedge. I think that was the right call. Saykoya has so much anti-air. There's a live witch.
Oh, a dragon would just die to the harpoon ship immediately, so...
A double harpoon. Yeah, you can't build a dragon in this situation.
Well, I mean, even if it was just the one, the moment the dragon gets built, it just gets hit, so...
Oh, it's zoning the tower, too.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, this is not where you want to be at all. It is very brutal. Okay, so Saykoya is just like, well, I'm going to try and finish off stuff with my naval. And one of the important rules about playing Wargroove, or like any kind of turn-based game, is you do the obvious stuff first. So, like, when... And you can think about, like, the more important stuff. I guess you're, like, limiting the choices you have later by, like, eliminating, like, the very easy ones first.
That's true, but there's another factor now, because this is Wargroove too. Making obvious moves, like decapping villages, doesn't just save you time, it builds you a very important resource.
Okay, I'm gonna take the open-ended question. What resources are they building?
Commander Groove.
Oh yes, that's a very good point. Lytra is 197% or 191%. So, and actually capturing as well also builds groove. Not much, but yeah, going for any kind of combat will build groove. 193. Gonna see unit kills. I think this builds a little bit more than just a fight, so Lytra's gonna get close. Oh.
One up, there it is.
There it is.
Saykoya has it.
You see that dog crit? Alright, we got a Lytra groove, and this is, I mean, if she was ever gonna have time to use groove, but there's not that much around to like work with this, so I'm very curious as to like what is she even gonna do here.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see it. I don't see what you groove here.
Like, you can't even do like interesting things, like you can't groove like a knight onto a mountain or anything like that. Like, that's kind of one of the obvious ones.
it's hurting my brain to calculate this, because now you have to be like, okay, if you put a commander between me and a mountain, am I exactly 1 and 1 or 2 and 2 spaces from the mountain?
Yeah. Yeah, this is very strange, and I'm not entirely sure how this works out.
This is the hypest moment. Oh, here it is! Wow!
Oh, here we go. I got it a little bit delayed after you. Alright, Song Cyclone. Just rotates everything. Oh! Kills the Skyrider by rotating it onto a village.
Just like imagine that from the Skyrider's perspective. You're flying on your broom, then the world turns upside down and you crash into a village.
That's a bad way to spend a Sunday. That is for sure. And yep, because of that, the dragon's now open to getting hit. So goodbye, dragon.
I think you called it with the position of this pike being in the forest. It's very difficult for the rifle to hit it. We might see some frog shenanigans try to manipulate that, but...
Maybe. Alright, are these actually going to kill these spears? Oh yeah, they are. So mages did get nerfed quite heavily. They do a lot less damage in general against things, but... Alright, we got cats versus sheep, and the cats are winning.
Versus buffaloes.
Are they buffalo? I always thought they were big sheep, but no, I think you're right.
I mean, this is Wargroove. They could be a cross between buffalo and sheep.
Yeah, I guess... Ooh, here's the question.
Buffaloes, yes!
Buffaloes? Oh, so they're like a cross between sheep and buffalo. Okay. So we were both right.
If they weren't before, they are now.
Okay, Sedge groove check, 164%. So it's quite a ways off. That's like at least another 2 turns of doing things, I think. Unless like a ton of combat happens. But...
Well, a ton of combat is about to happen. There's a night crit on one of Saykoya's knights. I think that puts it into tier 1 groove range. Even though Sedge doesn't build groove for using groove, it's still a big hit. And then Sedge can keep the momentum going with archer and pike onto a knight, taking another knight. Like, Saykoya has to fight now. Saykoya has committed to fighting to a certain extent.
And I mean, I guess like among other things, they have the time leads. So, okay, pulls the spear in and does a bit of damage to it. That makes sense. I guess that means the knight is less likely to get killed by it. It's just going to come down to, like, can Sedge do like the biggest Sedge combo ever? And there's definitely a lot of stuff here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's definitely like a lot of things Sedge can combo from here, so...
Yeah! I mean, this is it. This is the climax of the show right here. They basically have to fight until one of them has a winning it. Oh!
Oh, I completely missed that!
Me too!
Oh, and it kills the balloon! Oh, wow.
Wow!
I mean, I don't know if the balloon was doing too much at this point, but...
It was.
I guess it's like, that's like the follow-up defense unit, right?
That's 2 follow-up defense units. Or an essential body block. Or a way to distract the mage or the witch.
True. Okay, so what are we gonna see here? So some very obvious things, like Knight crit onto Knight will mean that Sedge can groove off of that, so that's very obvious that's gonna happen first.
Yes. Always good when you can take out a knight.
Yep. And first sadistic rush comes out. So what happens now is the follow-up. Okay, mage shield.
Is that enough? I don't think that's enough, is it?
I mean, it won't kill the knight, but it'll mean you can groove off of it.
Maybe it's not for that knight.
Oh. Oh, that's interesting, actually. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, I guess you could go and hit the other knight with the spear.
Then maybe like archer, mage, Sedge, the remaining one?
Maybe? I mean, there's a sword crit open on it, so... You'd have to do some very, like, big shenanigans to make that work, but... I'm really curious. This is, like, super interesting. I mean,
This is
it's
where
either
Wargroove-
very interesting. I mean, also you've got the air trooper as well. That's gonna hit one of those knights really hard.
Yeah, I don't know how to count this. There's these new units in the mix. Sedge might even be trying to consider lethal here. Because I'm looking at this. How much does Archer do to Frog? Oh, it's too late now. Not necessarily. It could still... Yeah, how much does Archer do to Frog?
It can't hit. There's too much stuff in the way now.
Not true. It can. I think it can.
No, the 3 tiles it could hit from are all... Well, actually only 2. There's only 2 tiles it could have walked to. Oh no, wait, you're right. I'm wrong. Sedge gets to move again.
Yes.
Oh, and actually that puts the frog into range. And
Of tier 2 groove. Is Sedge there? Not yet.
not yet. But as we continue, I mean, I guess like the one disadvantage here is that Sedge is gonna be sadistic rushing stuff instead of getting groove off of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still doing a lot of damage.
Well, yes and no. If we take a look at the unit count, Saykoya is actually way up on units, and we have to disregard the hideout too. So Saykoya is currently, before builds, still up 5 units, even after all this. Maybe 4? Yeah, Saykoya is at plus 4 units at this
Ooh.
point in time.
Oh, interesting. Uses the dog for the kill there?
Well, Sedge couldn't groove it without tier 2.
Right. Oh, I guess, yeah, just killing a unit here is probably more value.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Very
really wants
smart
to do
of Sedge.
damage.
They use the lumber mill on the left because they recognize Saykoya is about to steal it, so they figure, alright, my lumber, not yours.
Yeah, I mean, do you just sack a mage to kill the balloon on the left here? Just for
I would.
groove?
I would. For groove, for positioning, it'll slow Saykoya down. I would 100% make that trade.
Okay, Sedge gets a kill, almost a groove. Yeah, I think you just go for the mage hit on that balloon and...
Sedge does have one very big problem that I think is going to lose them the game, though.
Is it like this turns of counterattacks?
No. This turn was good. This is letting Sedge kind of climb back into the game, create stronghold counter threat. The problem is, which is currently the answer to dragon? Mages have been nerfed, witches have been buffed, dragons have been nerfed, witches one-shot dragons, right? Sedge can't build a witch.
Also,
And
I
did not build a mage in the bottom left.
yeah.
Or the bottom right. Saykoya has a dragon. That dragon is heading to the stronghold. This is a problem.
Yeah, this is a problem. I mean, archers do a bit more damage against them now, and harpies have more mobility, so maybe that comes into play.
No. Okay, yeah, Saykoya saw it. There was a sneaky harpoon, but it's fine.
I might be a bit behind. I have combat animations turned on, so I'm going to be a little bit behind you. Is it actually going to kill? Yep. Okay, so Saykoya is just like, I'm just going to push on the left-hand side then.
Yep.
And try and build groove, because actually I think Lytra's pretty close to having groove again.
She has groove. This is ridiculous. She has groove again.
Oh, wow.
Sedge still doesn't have.
I'm pretty sure Sedge has 200% now. Yeah, Sedge has groove, so...
Oh yeah, Sedge has it. Okay, Sedge has it now.
Yeah, it was at
And
199
actually,
and then he moved, and then he suicided the sword in.
Right. No, people are saying nerf Lytra groove. I don't think so. I think Lytra is perfectly balanced. You have to remember how broken Sedge is. Like, the point of Sedge is the opposing commander should get multiple grooves off before you get your tier 2. And Saykoya denied Sedge a lot of early combat. This is correct. This is the game as it is intended to be played. Sedge's weakness is you will not... You have to live through a few of your opponent's grooves to get your good groove. To get your ridiculous, overpowered, combat-winning epic groove, you have to survive a few of your opponents.
I am curious, like, I think we'll see. Like, there's going to be a period of people experimenting and seeing like just how strong certain commanders are. I could see Lytra's like tier 2 getting like a little bit slower, but like I think if they were gonna touch her groove at all, like that would probably be it. Like the tier 1 groove isn't like super powerful or anything.
Lytra is very strong or very weak depending on the situation and how you use her. I personally think she's in a great place and like the model around which other commanders should be built.
That's also fair. Yeah, we could also see like other commanders get pushed up towards like her level of strength.
Like Elodie's a little weak right now, Nuru's a little weak right now. And then you have Valder, who's in a weird place where he can be too strong but also be made to do absolutely nothing. And then Pistol exists. Just chain lightning.
Saykoya has to be very careful here. For many reasons, but yeah, like among those is Lytra essentially has 35 less health.
That's true.
Because Sedge can just one-shot her once she reaches that point.
That being said, we're seeing the value of the Witch. It is completely stopping what would have been a night crit on top of Lytra. There is nothing Sedge can do about it. The mages just can't reach. This is the thing about mages being a little weaker. It was already difficult to put them on the front lines to threaten witches. Now, if your opponent just backs up a little, there's no way the mages are going to hit anything. So you can kind of use air to stall unless your opponent has sufficient witches to chase them. And Saykoya is the master of this. They can slow Sedge down for 3 turns and then have a bunch of reinforcements by the time it happens. Meanwhile, Sedge has no defense on their own stronghold. I am really worried about Sedge's stronghold.
Yeah, that's incredibly open. There's a golem that's going to slowly get into position, but it's going up his dragon golem. So, does Sedge have to just be very defensive here? We see him run into that wagon, so we're not going to see any like specific Sedge thing happen here. Could just run to the center. Also another option.
One very funny thing that could happen is we could see Sedge dropped right next to Lytra.
Ooh, see the mage heal.
That's interesting.
I don't know what the goal is for that. Oh, right, sword crit?
For that.
Interesting.
And then I guess you take the mage and then the archer?
Yeah, finishes
you
off.
Just lose all your... I don't get it. I don't think Sedge has enough witches to make this safe. Or sorry, mages. Any kind of anti-air.
Well, he only needs to deal a certain amount of damage to them. He doesn't actually have to worry about killing air anymore.
No. Sedge does, because if Sedge can't kill the air unit, Saykoya can kill units for free and then make an invincible formation around them.
True, but I mean, well, when I say kill, I mean like you could get a unit lower on health, and then Sedge can just groove it from safety.
That's true. That's true. Maybe we could see that with the Harpy, if like the Harpy gets a Harpy strike on the Harpy. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
I almost wonder, this is a 90% health mage back there. I actually feel like at this point you might as well have just dropped a heal just for that unit.
Well, Saykoya doesn't have any balloons, so it's actually kind of fine. A 90 health mage will one-shot most things that a 100 mage one-shots.
Yeah, I mean, I guess also, you know, but there are certain circumstances where it just does enough damage to put something into the 35 range. So, it's hard to say.
This is interesting. Sedge is trying to deter the dragon from the stronghold attack. by just putting a massive force in the center, and it worked. Saykoya is not the type to go for the stronghold when their own stuff is in danger. Not unless they see a guaranteed path forward, and it was a little difficult to calculate.
Okay, Frog goes down. Dedicates a lot of units to kill it, though. We see the barge eventually fall. It took a long time for both of these barges to go down.
Yeah, that was actually another dragon nerf. They don't one-shot barges anymore, I think.
Ah, okay. Well, it hit the frog in this case, but...
Yeah. Really big damage from Saykoya. Like, they didn't even hesitate. Most people would like, can I win the stronghold fight here? If I rush, and how long does it take for Sedge to get... Saykoya's like, no, I'm just gonna attack. I'm not gonna think about all that. I know I can attack. Boom, and then immediately kills 3 units in like 5 seconds.
I love the frog pull on the thief, by the way. Just as like, while all of this combat's going on, this massive bloodbath, like Saykoya's just like, oh yeah, you know, I need to pull this thief slightly further forward. Interestingly, okay, so there's like some optimization that could have happened here. It decides to go for the archer crit on that knight when it could have done that first. So, I mean, and actually every little bit of health does matter. Like, having 10% more life on a knight when you're facing a tier 2 Sedge is actually really important.
There it is. That was the thing I was talking about last turn. You see how that witch hexed instead of killing the harpy? The reason it did that is because the mage was changed to the harpy. This guarantees that the witch is invincible, meaning Lytra cannot possibly be hit from the left or the right. It would be inane to try to hit Lytra from on top, though technically possible. Lytra is in a forest, so this completely protects Lytra from lethal. And it also protects anything where the witch would have been from being removed, and from this knight from being hit from multiple sides. Meaning it will be very difficult for Sedge to get groove, unless they're using the tier 2 reach over thing, which is a lot more limited. And the whole thing kind of boxes Sedge in, and makes it more difficult for them to do anything. Meanwhile, Saykoya has economy, Saykoya is still pushing naval on the right, Saykoya's up on time, Saykoya has
significant unit lead.
Threat.
I'm looking, I just brought up the overview right now, and there's a big difference between Sedgehun and Saykoya. That was a devastating turn. The Skyrider, in theory, can go down to Archer plus Harpy. But you're also
Doing
losing...
that would completely save the knight, that's the problem.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's like some really weirdly specific kill on Lytra, but I don't think so.
Well, I mean, there is so.
Can the sword suicide?
Yes.
Okay.
The sword can definitely suicide, and you could begin the lethal with Sedge's T2 groove after the suicide for a total of something like 45 damage. The problem is, even after the archer strike, let's say that does another 10, even though it doesn't, and you've done 55. There's absolutely nothing to finish her off. The only way it would work is if the flamingo can do enough damage to the thief that Sedge can groove it, which I don't think it can.
No, it can't. I just checked. It does 50 to a thief, and that's... there's nothing else to follow that up, so...
So you would have to give Sedge groove somewhere else, make him move, Archer the thief, Flamingo the thief, and then you still have nothing to hit behind Lytra. I don't think even the Harpy reaches, unless you could take down the village. And then you could use the Harpy, and it's still not enough damage.
Oh, Sedge gets in the wagon?
I'm not going to say it's impossible that there was nothing there, but I wouldn't try to calc it in this situation, because I'm confident enough that it's either not there or so close that it's not likely it's there, given what you can calculate reasonably.
Okay, we're seeing an air trooper going.
Well, that was a bit of a mistake. It said should have grooved before getting in the wagon if we were going to play it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an unfortunate one.
But this is the thing, Sedge is just too behind on time. This is the thing, you need a witch in Wargroove too. And being unable to build air anymore is devastating. Like, Sedge should not have ignored the entire right flank like that.
Yeah, that slow push of those harpoon ships, which are actually a lot faster now, but I guess it's still a slow push. Like, it took,
Yeah,
what, 14 turns for them to get into range?
pretty much. And there's 2 of them, so that a dragon could not take one out without being wrecked by the other one.
I love the rifle pulls. They actually can shoot the spear now. Oh.
Wow.
It's an expensive combo, but it does work.
And the funny thing is, that's not the same frog. Saykoya built and cycled a new frog to continue pulling the rifle around. Saykoya's so good! Just all this stuff. And Sedgehun is no slouch. We're talking about the person who Sedge is one of 2 people who knocked a 3-time world champion Shu out of a recent world tournament. Like, Sedge has made top 8 in worlds, I think. This is a good player. What was it you said? Number 1 most beloved player?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Honestly, I was like, just like a scrap idea for a video, because I do this sometimes when I'm pacing and talking to myself. I was like, all right, who's the number 1 at everything in Wargroove? I mean, like, Saykoya did least turn count. You got Legrand for like the speedrun, Shu for like the arcade speedrun. Sedgehun. Isn't Sedgehun like the most popular?
Probably.
How about this?
I think that is a fair statement that Sedgehun is the most popular of all Wargroove players.
I mean, for role-playing for, what was it, like 2 years without ever breaking character, even in voice chat, like not talking and just using the Sedge voice lines to communicate, that's dedication. You gotta respect that.
That is dedication. I was a little bit worried the first time he came on for commentary that he would do that and it would be kind of awkward, but I think that was the time he started breaking character, and it turned out he's an amazing commentator as well, so...
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Saykoya, he's playing this defense very well, and just picking off units where he can, and continuing to push down this right-hand side very, like, impressively, honestly. And I think he can actually take out the tower next turn. It could even... You can flip it if he really wants to.
Yeah.
If Sedge doesn't do anything, he just flips the tower.
You totally could. You totally could. But Saykoya doesn't need to flip it, that's the thing. The tower can't build anyway.
Yeah, but he wants to build stuff out of it, right? I mean, I guess you go for the village in the bottom right instead.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right, though. Yeah, flamingos. Forgot about that.
Yeah, you could build flamingos. I mean, heck, you could build, like, a dragon out of that.
You would die immediately, but you could.
Yeah. Or a balloon. Just to force him... Oh, you build a balloon in a tile where a mage killing it would get counterattacked by the naval? I feel like there are some meme plays there, but...
Oh, you mean Saykoya builds a balloon? Yeah.
Okay, we're seeing some hits on this dragon. Doesn't go down to 35. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Ooh, RNG. But there is no RNG.
Yeah, I don't know what Sedgehun does at this point. Because, actually, the other thing... I mean, Lytra's got tier 2 groove again. Damn. But Saykoya doesn't need to put Lytra in danger.
Yeah.
He can leave her, like, close enough to the combat where she can do... she can kind of, like, threaten if there's a big push comes in, but...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she doesn't need to do much. I mean, like, she has a bunch of cool options, like, you know, rotating backline units into the front line. So she can even just be completely safe and still be very influential. I'm looking there. Actually, there's so much like Saykoya can do. Like he can de-steal from that 5 village on the right, and have a dog follow up and hit the enemy dog. And that's like pretty safe. I mean, okay, there's a night crit threatening it now, but
I think that unless Saykoya makes an egregious error, Sedge definitely has the advantage. And
oh, you mean they
Saykoya's
have the?
gonna
You
kill a
mean
harpoon for free.
no? You mean Saykoya has the advantage, right?
What? Oh, sorry. What did I say?
You said Sedge.
Oh, sorry.
That's the
I don't know.
opposite of what's going on. Yeah. That's
Yes.
fine. Okay, Thief Steal comes in. Dog follow up. Yeah. And Rifle's gonna go for hits as well. Ooh, Rifle crit too. That's a big one.
Feel about rifles? Kind of like they've changed from like this weird defensive unit that you can't push into. No, they're still that. They've changed from like they've always been a weird defensive unit that you can't push into, but now instead of kind of being an aggressive unit, you can just like plop them on the defense and then they can just have value all game. I don't know.
They are very good. I do think the counterplay to them is very strong, and the fact Saykoya had to invest a lot into this rifle to make it useful. Like he built a frog to get it into position. I mean, it was still useful before that, but he had to put into a lot. He had to put like a lot of money on top of just the rifle to get a lot of value out of it, I think.
That is true. Yeah, you're actually right. Saykoya probably invested something over 1,600 gold to get that rifle going.
Oh, I love that play. Just knocks out the spear. Oh, but the night crit follow-up isn't available, but
It's not?
no,
Can I not count?
no, there's chopped trees.
Oh, the chopped trees! I forgot about the chopped trees. Those things get me every time. I'm like programmed to think, oh, they're just decorations. They don't matter.
But
The chopped trees.
if nothing else, I actually think chopped trees by itself has changed Wargroove 2 to be a much more interesting game. Taking out all of the new commanders, the groove changes, the no RNG, everything like that. I think just like chopped trees by themselves has made such a big difference to how this game plays. Ooh, Knight crit over on the left hand side, and that knight can just kind of go to town. Does it have a follow up? No, it doesn't have a follow up, but
An interesting decision by Saykoya. They could have destroyed that harpoon ship on the left. They chose to ignore it. They're allowing their own tower to get shut down, thinking, well, I shut down your tower, and it's a waste of time to attack that harpoon, so I'm just going to move everything to the center.
and Saykoya takes the tower.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see those troll flamingos you were talking about just invade Sedge's base. Sedge doesn't know what to do here, or they're thinking of some kind of plan.
Yeah, they've got a lot of big heavy hitting units. And they've got these 3 golems in the center. And a lot of mages behind them, but yeah, I don't really know what you can do in this circumstance. Okay, we're seeing a very aggressive archer play come out.
That is... What?
There's no night crit follow-up though.
Yeah, because of the cut trees!
Oh, that's rough. Knights are definitely a lot weaker. Because of that new tile. Like, it just limits them so much. It limits their damage output, it limits their movement.
It's funny, we always joke that Wargroove players can do these incredible calculations and mental gymnastics, but they can't count to 6.
Yep.
Now, even if you can count to 6, can you not trip over stumps? I don't know, we're gonna have to come up with something equally quippy for the cut forests.
Can you count to 6 while standing up straight? I guess
We'll think of
Sedge is...
something.
I mean, yeah. Oh, but I don't really know what Sedge can do at this point. He's so low on time as well. Like, his money's getting cut as well. Like, that Thief Steal's really punishing at this point. When you're behind and your opponent gets a Thief Steal, you're just gonna struggle for any kind of money.
You could say cut forests. Stump competitive players! I like that! I
Oh.
like that. That's good.
Exmo with the wonderful pun.
Yes!
There is actually nothing that can hit. If Saykoya really wants to, he could build a dragon out of that tower. There's nothing stopping that. Oh, the harpoon had moved onto the beach. That'll take some damage. Actually, I think this is the first time I've seen a land unit hit a naval unit like that. Maybe. Or like that harpoon ship in particular.
Oh, I know what Sedge is doing. They're sacrificing that golem to try to trick Lytra into attacking the golem and putting enough things in groove range that Sedge could possibly get a lethal on Lytra.
Yeah. But it looks like that's not going to be the case. And Saykoya's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna, kill this with some nice air units, and not have to worry about any of that. I mean, Saykoya. I mean, this is not a great play, but Saykoya could actually just dunk so much of Sedge's army in the water right now. The dog stops it, but I think she could have actually walked forward and just like dropped a whole bunch of stuff in the water. It wouldn't have been a good play, but it would have looked really funny.
Yes. The counter kill on Lytra would have also been very funny, as you said.
Yes. And yeah.
Funny thing is, Saykoya's like taking down a village, but also giving himself a stronghold crit at the same time.
Yeah, I think he can just win the game next turn. Golem plus Night crit actually kills, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless they changed the numbers, yes.
I do know there's like some weird shenanigans about how crits on strongholds are calculated, but...
I believe this is guaranteed. I don't think there is any action that can prevent Saykoya from winning next turn.
Did that
Which
frog just
means-
pull a golem to the side of Lytra?
What?
I thought I heard the
Oh,
frog
yeah.
pull, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
The extra defense. And just builds a dog, because I guess, yeah, you're gonna build something that can reach the front line. And I think Sedge is just running out of time.
The Sedge is lost. Like, unless Saykoya does some goober epic mistake, Sedge has strictly lost at this stage.
I don't think we got to see a single tier 2 groove. I don't think. Hey, he only used the tier 1, so.
That's a good point. I wonder if Sedge is trying to get their commander, like, around the map to just try to interfere with the stronghold takedown.
Okay, we got a dragon. Alright, so we get to see the tier 2 groove.
Yeah, there we go.
And this is actually like a pretty good turn, it has to be said, from Sedge. This is like a lot of damage coming out. A lot of lower cost units killing higher cost units.
But the mouse are in the way. You can't reach it.
Oh, he can get that one.
I see Lagrange saying if only they had enough timer. The thing is, Sedge did have enough timer. They just had to make good moves faster. Or worse moves faster. Like, Saykoya did this amazing game 20 minutes faster than Sedge did. And that's deserving of a win.
Yep. I will say, like, there is a possibility, and don't take this as confirmation of anything, there is a possibility we get more timer options in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like, maybe this is perhaps, like, the last time we're gonna see, like, a chess clock like this really make this big of an impact. But it is impossible to say. Okay, Knight. Ooh, actually kills.
If we ever do get increment, Saykoya is just going to get even better because it suits their play style better than anyone else's. Like, Saykoya really likes these very bursty, very safe turns to the point where it's their entire play style. Like, they just do this. I think if we went to increment...
Oh, hold that.
Whoa!
Oh, just rotates the whole army there. Okay. Everything I just said about Sedge having a good turn was still technically true, but Lytra just did as much damage as that with one groove.
I'm actually glad that Sedge Groove did not overwhelm the game, because I was wondering if it was too powerful, but seeing this game, it looks like you actually can counterplay it. You actually can use faster grooves to do enough damage to win before Sedge can become overbearing.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you take out groove aside, though, I think Saykoya was just playing so well.
Yeah.
Just like did such good work on the right hand side. I mean, just using these frogs so well. Oh wow, the mage lived. Oh, that knight had like a tiny bit of damage on it. Okay, we're gonna see an archer finish that off, but
I mean, this is heavy flexing, because Saykoya could end the game in 2 moves, but it is for the show match.
true. And I mean, you know, we were talking earlier about, you know, there hadn't been a lot of combat in the early game. Both players playing a very strong positional game, and now we get to see the players play an aggressive game. The air troopers are going to do a lot of damage to those knights on the beach. Yeah, they are not long for this world.
It redeems the lumber from the lumber mill.
Takes
Like,
out
why
a
does-
barracks. Oh. That's
Oh, I
rough.
must be a little bit ahead.
Oh yeah, I've got animations on, so yeah, you're gonna be a bit ahead of me. So I'm currently seeing Golem hit Sedge right now. And I guess you might as well. Like, you might as well just go for that bit of damage. Gets the crit on the stronghold. Oh, this might just be the end of the game, actually.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Okay. And we're gonna see not a commander kill, but a kill on the stronghold. And Saykoya rather hilariously causes my game to crash. Oh yeah, because there's this bug, right? That is unfortunate.
And Saykoya, rather hilarious, because that was great.
Hits the stronghold so hard that the game crashes. But actually the game's fine. I think this has actually already been fixed. It's just we're waiting on the version of the game with this fix to come out. So and it's not like Wargroove 1 where doing Groove of War 2, I think it was, the finals would cause the game to just like lock up completely. So
It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore.
doesn't that well, that was just due to like a server issue, but yeah. Still though, very well played there from Saykoya. That was a a really fun game to watch. It was very enjoyable. Got to see a lot of cool use of the grooves. We got to see Sedgehun get to play Sedge, and did some work with the Sedge groove, but I think Saykoya just outplayed him a little bit. Just in like army positioning and so on. So yeah, it was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And we've got one more show match after this, so I'm gonna go to this screen. I believe you're gonna be playing next.
Yes, this will be a bit of a different game. You can come watch me get my butt